Taylor was one of the skinniest girls in her school class. Her parents were so worried about how thin she was that they even gave her extra money so she could buy more snacks in the school cafeteria than other students. But Taylor saw nothing wrong with being thin. She thought she was very beautiful, even though her classmates often teased her for being skinny and weak. The girl liked her appearance and did not think about gaining weight. After graduating high school, Taylor immediately started college. She decided to follow in her father's footsteps and major in economics. The determined young woman had no problems with her studies and became one of the top students of the year in record time. That's when Kurt started paying attention to her. He was considered a ladies' man at the university and a great football player. The young man was used to being the center of attention, and when he saw an intelligent and beautiful girl who stood out in the class, he used his talent to charm her. Despite warnings from his friends who knew about the basketball player's adventures, Taylor accepted their relationship and even agreed to go out with him. Without even realizing it, the young couple started spending more and more time together, and 6 months later they officially became a couple. Having gotten what he wanted, Kurt calmed down a bit and even seemed a bit disinterested. However, the young man was in no hurry to get married or anything like that and tried to avoid any conversation on the subject. Deep down, Taylor found it very frustrating because the girl grew up in a home that believed that starting a family and having children was more important than anything else in life. However, it didn't seem to matter how much Kurt opposed the idea of marriage because in the end, they ended up getting married after graduating from college. The decisive factor was Taylor's pregnancy news. The young woman was thrilled. "We're going to have a baby, Kurt. This is so wonderful. Can you imagine that we created a little miracle? And this miracle will live with us and fill our lives with meaning." Taylor spoke with enthusiasm, but Kurt had his own opinion on the situation, and it was very different from his young wife's opinion. The man was worried that Taylor would take a long maternity leave to raise the child, leaving him solely responsible for the finances. Kurt still hadn't forgotten how fun college parties were, and sometimes still went out to all kinds of pubs and bars with his friends. Having a child meant only one thing for Kurt: working hard to support the family and spending weekends and holidays in front of the TV. On the other hand, Kurt understood that from then on he would be the head of the family, and there would be no turning back. But what happened a few months later completely changed his attitude towards living with Taylor. It all started with the fact that his wife began to gain weight. At first, it was just a few extra pounds that didn't have a big impact on Taylor's thinness. But then things got much worse and the weight gain was being counted in dozens of pounds. Weighing herself every day, the woman was horrified to see how quickly she was gaining weight. Obviously, Taylor was well aware that women gain weight during pregnancy, but that didn't console her. Soon her clothes no longer fit her, and then the pregnant woman had to do some shopping. Taylor tried to moderate the amount of food she ate to try to stop gaining weight, but that was not the only reason she was upset. The fact is that Kurt began to treat his wife with contempt, which only worsened her unenviable position. Taylor hoped it would get better, but after the birth of their first child, she continued to gain weight. They named the newborn baby Michael in honor of Kurt's late grandfather who fought in the war. For a while taking care of her newborn son, Taylor forgot about everything in the world, including negative thoughts about being overweight. On the other hand, Kurt began expressing his dissatisfaction with his wife's appearance even more. "You're looking like a barrel. Where is that body that attracted everyone's attention?" he said with disdain, not realizing what kind of mental trauma he was inflicting on his wife. "But honey, these are just postpartum changes. It will take a little longer, but eventually, I will return to my normal weight." Taylor tried to convince her husband, but as he was used to women's attention, Kurt was clearly not satisfied with such a prospect. Moreover, the man practically didn't pay attention to their son, which further upset Taylor. The couple started fighting more often, and Kurt was almost always the one who initiated them. Meanwhile, all the fights made Taylor gain weight even faster, as she constantly felt stressed, and the young mother sought comfort in sweets and sodas. Of course, this couldn't help but have a negative effect on her figure, which got worse as the day went on. As time passed, Taylor still couldn't lose those extra pounds, continuing to desperately fight against the scale. She tried to improve her relationship with her husband, who grew more distant with each passing day. Kurt began staying late at work more frequently, and sometimes he could only come home in the morning. In addition, he smelled like women's perfume. All his shirts often had lipstick marks. "What's going on, Kurt?" exclaimed Taylor after her husband came home in the morning once again. "Why are you acting like I did something wrong? Look at yourself, you've turned into a fat cow. Where's that body I used to love? Where's your charm? I'm a man, after all. If there's something you don't like, I can just leave." Kurt replied with undisguised anger in his voice. At that moment, Taylor realized that her husband no longer loved her, and that there was no going back to the relationship they used to have. Despite the fact that the young mother still weighed around 80 kilograms, in her heart she remained the same sweet young woman she was during her university years. Therefore, Taylor did not try to convince Kurt to change his mind. Instead, she said, "Do what you want, Kurt, but remember there's no turning back." It seemed like that's all Kurt was waiting for. The man packed his things the same day and left his wife and their 2-year-old son, Michael. Needless to say, the young woman made a lot of effort to overcome the pain of her husband's betrayal and tried to pull herself together all that time. The only thing that kept Taylor from completely falling apart was the need to take care of her son. Michael was a wonderful child. He didn't cause his mother many serious problems, but instead filled her difficult life with unconditional love. One day, Taylor grew tired of seeing her big, shapeless body in the mirror and decided it was time to change. The young mother went on a low-carb diet and started working out every day. Of course, it was difficult at first, and Taylor had a hard time losing the extra weight she had gained over the years. At some point, it became so difficult and exhausting that the young woman was about to give up and thought about going back to her old way of life. However, Taylor remembered Kurt's scornful look when he called her a fat cow and kept up her exercise routine. About 3 months later, the young mother could already see the first results of her hard work, as the scales showed she had lost more than 30 kilograms. This news inspired Taylor and gave her the strength to continue. About a year later, the determined young woman managed to lose almost all the weight she had gained. Meanwhile, Taylor landed a job at a commercial company where she proved to be a valuable employee. Sometimes, the young woman needed help with complex financial transactions, and she always turned to her father for advice. He was a renowned economics genius. Apparently, Taylor followed in his footsteps, which did not go unnoticed by the company's management. Soon, the owner of the company noticed the promising young woman and offered her the position of chief director of one of the local branches of the company. Taylor was obviously happy to accept the offer to climb the career ladder from senior manager to branch chief. But when she saw Kurt on the list of her new employees, her heart began to beat anxiously. It was very unexpected, and unfortunately, the woman was not ready to face her past. But Kurt felt completely different about his situation and hoped to climb the career ladder by exploiting his ex-wife. "Hello, Taylor, you look much more beautiful. Did you go on a diet or start working out?" "I did both, actually. What do you think if we start over? We have a child together, after all." At that moment, Taylor could barely control her reaction. Her contempt for her ex-husband was palpable. "Kurt, there would never be a fresh start for us, especially if you keep working as poorly as you are now. Be smart or I will fire you." However, this conversation ended. "We all have work to do," the woman replied in a tone that didn't break any objection. Kurt was about to say something else but stopped mid-sentence, lowered his head, and left Taylor's office. Only now did he realize what a terrible mistake he had made by leaving his wife in a difficult situation in the past. Watching her ex-husband leave her office, Taylor thought of the pleasant young man she was going to have dinner with later that day. A man who not only appreciated her appearance but also loved her individuality, and was rich in his own world. And there you have it. Did you enjoy this story? Share it with a friend. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, don't forget to do so and leave a like to help us out. We count on you. See you in the next video.